Hey, what is going on, Guardians? Havoc here with Destiny Tracker brings to you more Rise of Iron information. Now, last week, Game Informer had an info explosion when it came to Rise of Iron. If you remember last year, they did the same thing with the Taken King, where they had like a month long information palooza, so to speak, and this year was not any different. Basically, the September issue of Game Informer is got a 16-page spread all about Destiny Rise of Iron. If you had the digital subscription, you had access to the September issue rather early as compared to the physical copy, and I myself have a digital copy of Game Informer. So without further ado, let's get into it. We're going to talk about the 8 new artifacts in Rise of Iron. I'm going to tell you the pros and cons, which with each one, is it good for PvP? Is it good with PvE? We'll go through each one. But yeah, when they first introduced artifacts, it was in the Taken King, and people were like really pumped. It was something new to equip our Guardian with. Then after, people were like, that's it. It only changes your stats. It doesn't do anything to your Guardian like cosmetically. You don't see it on your Guardian. And a lot of people didn't really care for the artifact. And I think Bungie realized this, and they decided to kind of restructure the artifact in Rise of Iron to make it 8 unique artifacts that you could put on any Warlock, Titan, or Hunter. It could be cross any Guardian that you have. But yeah, very situational, so we're going to go through each one, so bear with me. First off, we have Memory of Radagast. Described as the first among equals, Radagast the Titan was the King Arthur of the group, and strode into battle with mighty sword in hand. His artifact adds a new ability for sword-heavy weapons, letting you reflect energy-based projectiles, including everything from an ogre's blast to a crucible opponent's rocket. Also read further into this that it does also reflect Nova Bombs, Shadow Shot, maybe even Golden Gun. Very useful in Crucible, it seems. And view your sword like a lightsaber. You're just reflecting energy-based projectiles at you, so it can be very, very beneficial in both Crucible and in PvE. The next one is Memory of Perun. The field commander of the Iron Lords was a consummate strategist, and her situational awareness went beyond even fellow hunters. If you bear her artifact into battle, then enemy guardians with supers are highlighted yellow, and all enemies with low health are highlighted red for easy targeting. I see this being used a lot in Trials of Osiris, especially in 3v3 match types. Now, anyone who plays Trials knows that about the 3rd or 4th round, usually people have their supers. Sometimes you forget who still has a super, etc., etc. So if someone bears this artifact, they could call out, hey, so-and-so still has their super, beware, you know. So that helps. At least one person in your fire team that bears this artifact will be a major, major benefit to the team. Again, I can see this being used a lot in Trials. We have Memory of Jolder, a particularly close companion of Saladin. Jolder was a mighty Titan champion who ran bravely into battle without a thought for her own safety. Her artifact bears an ability that many players have longed for since the game's launch, the ability to completely eliminate sprint cooldown, allowing your Guardian to ceaselessly charge ahead. Me personally, and I'm sure a lot of you guys can agree, this should not be an artifact, especially for this ability. This should already be in the game. There should be no sprint cooldown whatsoever. And being that it's just an artifact perk to allow a sprint cooldown to not exist and to just eliminate it, I feel it kind of lackluster. And I mean, I see people using this maybe for like PvE patrolling and stuff like that, or maybe even strikes, but I mean, it should be something that should be already in the game. Next, we have Memory of Silmar. Silmar was a proud, wrathful, and brilliant, and the architect of the Iron Temple that sits atop Fellwinter Peak. He was a defense-oriented Titan, always looking for a way to offer better protection. As such, his artifact provides a unique ward, the ability to dramatically reduce any damage inflicted throughout damage over time, or DOT effects. It should be a welcome difference, especially since the infamous Thorn hand cannon is returning for year 3. If they didn't nerf the Thorn and they didn't nerf like Firebolt grenades, I could see this artifact being very useful. But since they pretty much nerfed the DOT effects on them, unless, you know, they do a patch or an update or weapons balance or ability balance when Rise of Iron drops and they buff those back up, this artifact is pretty pointless in my opinion. But we'll have to just wait and see. Next, we have Memory of Felwinter. The great enigma of the Iron Lords, Felwinter was an Iron Lord with great intentions, or good intentions, my bad, but sometimes questionable and unusual ways of interacting with the light. The Warlock discovered the mountaintop retreat that would become the Iron Lord's home. His artifact offers the most dramatic gameplay modifier. Lose your super, but gain an extra grenade and melee charge, and a boost to all stats, and orbs recharge your grenade and melee abilities. This can be very useful. That can eliminate certain armor types that allow an additional grenade or an additional melee. There's certain subclasses that allow an additional grenade as well. So you could use those perks towards something else if you want to barrel this artifact. So I can see this being very useful in PvP. It can be somewhat useful in PvE, but I could definitely see this being a crucible artifact that people love to use. Next we have Memory of Galleon. The hunter named Galleon may have been a sullen pessimist, but few doubted his assessments of the situation on the ground. No matter how dire, guardians that wield his artifact gain detailed radar at all times, and radar persists when aiming primary weapons. I see this being used a lot in Crucible, along this and maybe Memory of Perun. I can see this being used in Trials, especially with the radar constantly being on and call-outs and stuff. So I can see this being a major staple. If you have like a fire team with one person with this and another person with this, you know, it's going to be a good fire team to deal with. You got someone who's got radar monitoring, you got someone who's going to be monitoring who's got their super, who's low on health, etc., etc. This could be a good Trials of Osiris artifact to use. Then we have Memory of Scory. If Radagast echoes the legend of Arthur, then Scory is Merlin. The legendary battle ward and warlock inspired her allies with songs and wisdom. Guardians who follow in her footsteps use artifact to glow with an expiring light that speeds up super recharge for all nearby allies. Also, I can see this being used in Trials. Imagine if someone with this, scouting the radar, someone with this, scouting people's supers, and having this artifact, you know, standing next to each other, playing as a team, and getting your recharge of the speed of your recharge of your super increasing. That could be, I could see this being used a lot. I mean, these three, each person with these artifacts, it's going to be the most common theme when it comes to Trials. Then we have the 8th and final artifact, Memory of Timur. Creepy and misunderstood, Timur's warlock powers and demeanor almost recall those of a controlling necromancer. Guardians willing to flirt with Shadow can take up Timur's artifact and transform their melee attack, giving it a chance to turn low-power minions of darkness into allies. These enemy creatures fight at your side, turning their weapons on confused fellow aliens. Another melee attack, melee a few seconds later puts them back in their right mind, or the effect expires after 30 seconds. I can see this being used in strikes, maybe the raid, if there's a lot of low tier enemies and you feel like you're getting overwhelmed, you smack a few enemies, they help you out a little bit, you know, etc., etc. So I can see these being used in strikes, or maybe even the raid, who knows. Maybe Nightfalls, definitely that. And then we have the 9th one, which has got a question mark. I'm assuming if you get all 8, maybe this one unlocks, or maybe this is a quest to get the 9th one. I'm not entirely sure, no one really knows, but it's called The Survivors. Only the 8 Iron Lords who fell when sealing away Siva had their own named artifacts, but canny players know that 2 more heroes once stood at their side. Saladin is the most familiar. He has hosted the Iron Banner to hone the light of the newer Guardians and prepare them for the threat of Siva's reemergence. But the sniper named Aphrodite also may have survived, and she has no statue in the mausoleum, and Bungie won't be waiting long before exploring the mystery of her disappearance. So apparently Aphrodite's missing. Her body has not been found, so we don't know if she's dead or not. So her emblem might be the 9th and final artifact to get. Who knows? Maybe there's a quest line. We don't really know at this moment. But guys, thank you for watching the video. What do you think of the new artifacts? Do you see these being very handy to use? Do you like this idea of being able to use any artifact and any guardian? Do you like these artifacts to be very situational for both PvP and PvE? Leave a comment in the section below. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you want to see more of my content, feel free to subscribe to my channel. Follow me on Twitter. Those important links will be in the description box below. But for more Destiny Tracker content, please subscribe to the channel. So until next time, I will talk to y'all later. Peace.